Hey everybody, Sarah here. So today I'm going to be doing a Q&A where I go through all of my YouTube comments from the last month and answer them here for a video for you guys. But before I jump in, I just want to thank all of the members on this channel who have helped make everything possible. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. If anybody else would like to become a member, we have two tiers, one for $2 a month and one for $5 a month. The $2 a month will get you access to live videos after they're over, as well as some custom emotes, and then if you go with the well-started tier, you will also get the ability to name new snakes that I get, as well as other things. So if you would like to support me and this channel, you can click join down below to do that. Also, a quick thank you to Reptilinks for helping to support this channel. If you would like to use my code SarahSnake27 at checkout at Reptilinks.com, it will get you a $5 discount, and I also get $5 back from your purchase. And I also have a website, sarahsnakeshop.com, where I sell corn snakes and corn snake accessories. Mostly corn snakes. Lots and lots of snakes right now. Lots and lots and lots of babies right now. And so, given that, I'm actually going to set up a 10% off for anybody who uses the code 10OFF7, and the 7 just being for July. So the number 10 and then OFF and then 7, I will put it over here on the screen, and I'll also put it down in the description below if you would like to copy it and paste it on anything on the website till the end of this month. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the questions. The first question that we have is, do you only need one lock per female to get a full clutch? And the answer is yes. Technically, you do only need one lock for each female in order for her to produce a full clutch. Now, a lot of people will go ahead and introduce them 2 to 3 times, up to 5 times, but it's not 100% necessary, at least from my experience. There's no harm in doing it more than once, but it's not 100% necessary to do so. The next question is, when talking about stripe, is that synonymous with tessera? This was talking about my motley and stripe video from a long time ago. And the answer is no, that is going to be completely different. Tessera is a different mutation. It just appears striped. It is a type of stripe mutation. We have 3 different stripe mutations right now, technically. We have the typical stripe, tessera, and we also have terrazzo. Those 3 are all technically stripe mutations, but we just use different terms for each of them, and they are not genetically compatible. The next question is, I have a corn snake and wanted to see if you could identify the morph. Can I send you a picture to identify him? And the answer to that is, the best thing that you can do is go to my Facebook page. I know Facebook is like out of style. A lot of people don't like Facebook anymore, especially younger people, and I get it. I don't really like it that much either, but that's where I built my platform, and so that's where I post most of my stuff. However, I do have a TikTok. I'll also link it down below if you guys want to go see it. Totally different thing, but I've been trying to post there as often as I think about it. But anyway, join my group on Facebook. It's called Corn Snake Morph ID Help. There's also a Corn Snake Husbandry Help. Those 2 are my groups, and they are specifically meant to handle these specific questions. Every time someone sends me a morph ID photo, like, sure, I can help them, but a lot of times they're, I'm going to be asking for the same photo rules. Like, those 2 groups are my groups, essentially. I have other admins that help me out, but technically I'm the main admin. So if you want my opinion or the opinions of admins that I trust to be good at identifying, Corn Snake Morph ID Help is the group to go do that on Facebook. And if you don't have a Facebook, then I do also have consultation services to help people with morphs and stuff. In fact, I have one scheduled for this Sunday anyway. The next question is, I have my very first clutch hatching now. You mentioned some are eating before their first shed. What guidelines do you follow when they hatch? Like, when do you set them up individually, offer meals, etc.? So I like to separate my babies pretty much immediately. As soon as they come out of the egg, I separate them. There's a few reasons for this. For one, there has been times when babies have eaten each other. It's not common with corn snakes, but it can happen. Another thing that actually did have happen this year was some babies got out and then actually flipped the eggs of other babies over and caused them to drown while they were still in the egg. So I unfortunately lost a charcoal that way this year. Some of the eggs weren't all quite stuck together in the bundle, and when babies get out and they're moving around and they're trying to get out of that little enclosure that the eggs are in, they move other eggs around, and one of the charcoals ended up drowning. So I just immediately put them in their own separate enclosure as soon as they come out of the egg, if possible. Obviously, if they just have their nose sticking out, I'm going to let them come out on their own, but generally speaking, if they're out of the egg, they need to go in a different enclosure immediately. As far as offering meals, I just offer on my own schedule. So when it comes to baby season, I usually offer on a weekend and then also some point in the middle of the week. So usually I'll offer food on Saturdays or Sundays, and then I'll offer food again on either Wednesday or Thursday, kind of depending on my schedule. And so if a baby hatches on Friday and I was planning on feeding on Saturday, I'll still go ahead and offer them a Pinky Mouse. What I like to do, especially because I have so many babies, and this is something that I do recommend for other people who might be a little overwhelmed with clutches and you're worried about wasting Pinky Mice. You're like, oh, I have 20 baby snakes, but I thought 20 Pinky Mice and only 10 of them get eaten. Like, what do I do? I actually go by the rule of only thawing out a third of what I need at a time when it comes to Pinky Mice for baby corn snakes. And then I offer the first third of snakes, and then maybe half of those will eat. The second, it would be a sixth of the snakes after that. Then maybe all of them will eat, and I'll have to thaw out more pinkies, or maybe only a handful of them will eat, and then I can move any pinkies that don't get eaten onto the next group of snakes. That's essentially what I did in the last video that I uploaded, which was all about feeding baby corn snakes, which is actually where this question came from. I was showing off feeding all the babies, and some of them had literally just hatched that same day, and they ate. You're of course not going to get them to all eat all the time. It just happens that way. Some of them are going to be a little bit more picky. There's other things you can do to sort of combat that. I have a lot of videos on that kind of stuff, so I'm not going to go into detail on it now. But I will just offer a meal whenever my schedule is I'm already doing that. I try to feed babies twice a week, or at least offer babies food twice a week, and just whenever. Now, a lot of people will wait until after their first shed, and for me, I just don't expect a baby to eat until after the first shed. Once they shed, that's when I kind of start counting down, and I kind of wait like 3 weeks after a shed, and if they haven't eaten, that's when I start pulling out like different ways to get them to eat, like whether it's washing pinkies, boiling pinkies, scenting pinkies, tease feeding pinkies, or at the worst case, if I absolutely have to, force feeding like a pinky head or something. Lynx have been really good for that, the Reptilynx that I mentioned earlier. I'm not going to go into all that stuff, but I hope that you kind of get the gist. The question is, what do the babies typically weigh when they hatch? And it kind of depends. If they're under 5 grams, they're probably a really small baby. I've hatched a 2-gram baby before, but that was a tiny, tiny, tiny little baby, and it didn't make it. It was so small. So I would say the average, like on the smaller side, is like 5 grams, and then they can be up to 12 to 15 grams when they hatch, depending on the size of the egg that they were in. The next question is, how many times do they eat before I put them up for sale? Minimum of 3 consecutive meals or 5 non-consecutive meals. So basically what that means is, like I said, I feed twice a week. So if I have fed the snake 3 times and it's eaten all 3 times, I will go ahead and put it up for sale. If I have fed the snake 5 times, like it's eaten 5 times, but maybe it's eaten 5 times over the course of 5 weeks instead of 5 times in 2.5 weeks, whereas some of them might be eating twice a week. They're eating every single meal. They eat for a week and a half straight, basically. I'll go ahead and put them up for sale. But the ones that are only eating like maybe every other meal or every few meals, I make sure that they eat at least 5 times non-consecutively. And as long as they have some sort of pattern, I will go ahead and put them up for sale. And as long as they're eating something that's not altered, so like not boiled or washed or anything like that. The next question is, if you breed a green blotch snow to a butter super yellow, what would you get? And so this is kind of a difficult one, just because the terminology is weird, but green blotch snow is anerythristic, amelanistic, and then green blotched. And a butter and super yellow, I don't really know what that means. I don't know if they mean a super buff or a super toffee or a super yellow jacket, or if maybe they just mean that they have a really yellow butter. But if it doesn't really matter too much which one of those it is. So if you breed a green black snow to a butter, you're just going to get all amelanistics that are halos. Just halo amelanistics will be the result. Now, if the super yellow means super buff or super yellow jacket or super toffee, then all of those babies will also be that thing, buff, yellow jacket, or toffee, and just have one copy of it if the parent had 2 copies of it, because all of those are dominant mutations, except for obviously halo and green blotch is incomplete dominant, amelanistic being recessive, and there's no sign here that the butter, of course, would be het anery, so I'm assuming you're probably just going to get all amels with that. The last question I have is, which get bigger, male or female corn snakes? A lot of people have said to me that in their experience, males get bigger. In my experience, females get bigger. Part of that is the way that I handle the feeding of my animals. I personally prefer to feed the males a little bit lighter. Maybe they eat a little less often, or maybe they eat smaller meals. And then my females, I will go ahead and feed like, you know, a normal size or slightly larger meal, because the females need that in order for eggs to be produced and for them to remain healthy with all of that. And my males just don't need to be that big. They just don't need to. So in my collection and from my experience, my males are a bit smaller than my females. But other people have said other things, so I could be wrong. It could just be that my collection is just sort of out of the norm, which is definitely possible. So please like, subscribe, share. Sorry that this one was a little short, a little off the cuff, not done super well, but again, I have hundreds of babies, and I don't have any employees. It is all just me. So I promise I will eventually, once things die down a bit, I will get back to normal content like morph deep dives and things like that. It's just those take so much more energy than things like this, so that's why this and like some of the reaction videos are the ones I've been doing more often recently, just because that's what I have time for. But if you guys have any suggestions or requests, please leave them in the comments, because I am always open to hear what you guys actually are interested in, or if there's like a specific morph, like, oh, I don't know anything about blank morph, like I don't know anything about what amelanistic does, which I already have a video on amelanistic, but pick a morph. If you don't know something about it, maybe I'll do a deep dive on it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in a new video soon.